Well, welcome back to our channel Teaching and Learning. In this channel we mainly talk about business communication, English language and IELTS practice. So from the last video, couple of videos, I have started the discussion, the presentation of business English, which is mainly based to the students of BBS first year. It is not only for them, it is equally important for them who are interested to get the exposure of English language. So here are some stories, some essays, some poem and some other written text passages that we read and we check them, we study them and analyze them in full level interpretation through which we understand our reading and analytical skills. So shall I start? Well, so this is Unit 3 and the title of the Unit 3 is Education. So here we have altogether the lessons. So the first of all we have why go to university. Since the title is Education and here we check why go to university. Is it important to go university whenever we want to achieve education, skills and knowledge in our life? Like the previous videos, let's start it from literal comprehension, interpretation, then critical thinking and evaluation. So in literal comprehension, okay, I'm going to read for you. Higher education is always a must in the sense that educated manpower can contribute in the holistic development of the person, society and nation. University education helps someone to get good job and other opportunity. The better educated you are, the higher your income tends to be. It is said, chief wealth of a nation is not its hand, natural resources or population, but skillful people. Educated people can make a green land even in the desert. Education functions as a key to solve the various practical problems so far our life. An educated person is more likely to solve difficulties and problems in rational manner. Education teaches us many other practical applications. Higher education teaches the people to live in a healthy manner. Educated people are more likely to enjoy good health. They have better health consciousness than uneducated people. Education tells us about our existence in the universe. It informs us that all human beings are members of the same species. It also wants that any species will extend if we can't modify as per the environment. An educated person is more likely to lead the meaningful life and is less vulnerable to stress-related diseases. University education undoubtedly supports the person to think critically, which is the base of achieving the reality and truth. Look at, these are some benefits of getting higher education. This kind of people exercise their mind more than less educated people. This is the comparison between what educated people do and what uneducated people. The way we take care of our body by exercising, we should also exercise our mind. It is said that sound mind is necessary to live a comfortable life. Education makes people self-confident. High education always motivates a person towards research and discovering something new. Education makes people curious. Basically, uneducated people makes people curious. Basically, uneducated people are less curious. Curiosity leads us to the critical and creative world. So educated people are more creative and critical than uneducated people. There is direct relationship between democracy and education. Democracy requires educated citizens to flourish it. We must educate ourselves if we want to establish permanent democracy in our country. University is that kind of platform where people of different backgrounds meet and share their feelings, emotions, and understanding. Well, this is all about the literal comprehension of the text, why go to university. There are many advantages for going universities and getting the higher education, achieving the higher degrees and qualification. Mainly, we have explained them on the basis of examples and comparison with the uneducated person. So educated people will have higher income. They have very quality life. They live a very healthy, sound and perfect life. They gain comparatively more respect and reward in comparison to uneducated or less educated people. So more than that, they also preserve and conserve their cultural heritage, the beauties and historical things, the importance, and more than that, they cultivate and they develop the sense of democracy not only in politics but the life of the people. We need to develop the politics, democracy in the society. So all these educated people have the quality life. They have prosperous, happy life, and they have more income. They have very healthy life, and they promote their culture, and they promote the democracy in the society, and they are the good citizen of the nation. They are the good member of their community. So these are some benefits, some advantages that the educated people have. So this is the importance which is based on the reason why we go to the university and why do we take university education. Here are some benefits of going to university listed in points. Okay, these are the points. Thank you. Now let's move to the interpretation. So what do you think after reading this text, after learning and knowing the literal comprehension? What do you understand regarding what the text tries to say to us? By this text or lessons, what the writer tries to explain, how can we interpret this text? What the message of this text is? Let me read, okay? Education is a part of life. Higher education and potentialities of the person correlate for the materialistic and spiritualistic success of someone. The text is trying to say that education is a very important part of life. University education reforms our character and morality. It further supports for our all-round development. It removes narrow mind. The negative aspects of life like pride and superstitions can be removed, and consequently it leads us towards the progress and prosperity. Education helps to know the meaning of life. Look at how beautiful. This interpretation says, I have made this interpretation in my reference book, by the way. So here, this interpretation means we have compared the life and the benefits of having higher education. The person who has received the higher education has the very quality life, and he or she enjoys many benefits and merits of higher education. So on the basis of that, what we can say over here in interpretation is, education is a part of life. Higher education and potentialities of the person correlate for the materialistic and spiritualistic success of someone. The text is trying to say that education is a very important part of life. University education reforms our character and morality. It further supports for our all-round development. It removes narrow mind. The negative aspects of life like pride and superstitions can be removed, and consequently it leads us towards progress and prosperity. Education helps to know the meaning of life. So it is very important It has the very all-round impact, qualitative impact to our life, so that we can live at least better life. The person who has received the higher education, the person who has received the university education, obviously will enjoy many things. So that is the text tries to say. The text tries to say, we can interpret this text that higher education is a must if we want development, if we want prosperity. That is the main message of this text. And then let's move towards, critical thinking. Obviously, in critical thinking, we raise some of the doubts and some of the, problems, some of the areas and aspects where we are not that much, convinced when we read the text. Let me read out what I have prepared in my reference book. I agree with the writer in most of the cases, but there are some confusing ideas in the essay. Although the essay teaches us the value of education, the question haunts in the mind like, aren't there many people who achieve the top success in their life without university education? There are people, school dropper, who have achieved the success, name, fame, and prosperity in their life without the higher degree, higher level of education in their life. What is that? And another very important question is, do the PhD holder need not to face problem in their life? If you have PhD, then everything solved. It's a magical trick, it's a magical stick, so that you can solve every problem of your life. Your life becomes like a dream life. No, never. Even the PhD holder has to struggle a lot in his life. So it does not clean sweep all the problems, challenges, and confusion of the life. In only formal and university education important? What about informal education? Do only educated people live longer? Can all educated people live a good life? So what about informal education? What about non-formal education? Is it only one option that we can promote our life from university education, or what? So these are some questions that are, very crucial and that we can raise in this text. It means, we can't say that university education can solve all the problems, and those people who are deprived, who don't have access of getting higher education, cannot do progress in their life. That way we can think. So there are questions we can raise. There are not convincing areas that the writer tries to say. Now let's move to the assimilation. In assimilation, what we do is how this text actually, make impact in my life, how I am influenced from it. How do I change my attitudes, my way of living and my thinking after reading this text? Okay, let me read out this assimilation. The reading of this essay led me to realize the importance of university education in one's life. I came to know that it is not only related to the earning of a person, but also to the holistic development and prosperous peace and satisfactory life. Both the materialistic achievement and spiritual achievements are possible from higher education. In this way, we have done the 4-level interpretation of the lesson Why Go to University. This is all about this lesson. And now let's move to the lesson 2. That is, don't cut down the trees, brother woodcutter. This is also the message. It is also the education, which is very necessary, very demanding nowadays, because we are destroying the environment, the environmental heritage and ecosystem. So through this poem, we are trying to, discuss the environmental issue. This is also under the education. So this is lesson 2. Let's move to the 4-level interpretation, okay? Literal comprehension. The poet requests the woodcutter not to cut down the trees because these trees are dead mothers. The poet is in highly educational mood and sees mother's figure in the tree. He further says, trees are always there to protect us from sun and rain. They also give us fruit and flowers. When we go to the jungle, they treat us as our mother. Trees are important always, beyond any season, so that they are like our mothers. In this way, the poet tries to convince the woodcutter not to cut down the trees. So here, trees are like our mother. They are really our dead mother. So we should not cut down the trees. They feed us, they give us shelters, we use them in all the seasons, they give us fruits, and they are protecting us like the mother. So they are providing us like the mother. We should not cut down the trees. Woodcutter, the poem describes this way to the woodcutter. Now let's move to the interpretation what through this poem the poet tries to say. Okay, the speaker of the poem actually represents the trees as human beings. Here, the poet projects the tree as the human beings. Trees are important in human life. Whatever the seasons and situation, trees protect and care us like our mother. Whatever season, whatever situation, trees are very protective for us. They help us, they feed us, they provide us, and they take care of us like the mother. How mother take care of her child in all the seasons. In the similar way, trees are very important for our life. The poet is trying to say that human society without tree will become like a family without mother. So how the family looks like if there is no mother? So our society, our community will be something like that if we don't have tree. Trees are like mother. They are very important part of our human life. Not for any particular situation and incidents. In the entire life, any situation, any seasons, trees are very important. Trees like our mother suckle from their breast as fruits and flowers. How mother suckles the baby. In the similar way, trees gives us flowers and fruit through which we eat, we suck, and we grow up ourselves and we protect ourselves. So trees are feeding us like the milk feeding, breastfeeding, for the child. Let's move to the critical thinking. Here we can have some questions related to the text. There are really convincing ideas that the poet put forward since he seems as an environment lover, nature lover. Here the poet has reflected him as the environment lover and nature lover. As I have already mentioned when I start this lesson, this is the dire need, this is the very important necessity to the human society. This is the very good message to the human society. We need to understand. Okay, so the poet is projecting him to the to the text. So we need to understand that way. And here, even though this is convincing, we need to understand that there are some points, there are some areas where we can raise the questions. How the question something like that, it is more guided by the imagination, and the poet has reflected trees as the mother. How can trees become our mother? How our dead mother become trees? How trees can support us like mothers? Is it okay? Trees are very important for our life, but how can we put them like the mother? Are we the children of tree? Obviously no. So these are some questions that we can raise. So how trees cannot be compared with father, because father also works hard and function as supplier of the food and safety to the family. It is very interesting. We are comparing trees to the mother. Can't we compare trees to the father? Because father also goes out and works for the family and supplies food and all the need to the family. What about comparing trees to the father? So in this regard, the poet has many losing points in the text. So there are some areas where we can really ask some questions, where we can express our confusion, the areas where we are not that much convinced to the ideas of the poet. So these are something that we need to understand. भइरहेछ नि हैन? टाइम देखाइरहेछ? Assimilation. Okay, in assimilation, after reading this poem, what happened to me? So whenever you write the assimilation, please do not consider to the critical thinking. Critical thinking actually disturbs your mind. So on the basis of literal comprehension and interpretation, you can write the assimilation. After reading this poem, what I realize is how valuable the trees are in my life. Trees are the source of happiness and satisfaction. Along, they provide us everything and also is our food provider. They function as our food provider. They are the part of satisfaction and happy life. So, after reading this poem, whatever I can do for the protection of the environment, I will try my best. I will invest my little bit energy and resources to protect the life of the trees, because they are very important for us. Whoever they are, it doesn't impact me. Either the poet has been compared trees to the mother, or somebody compare them to the father. We need to understand that, these trees are very important for us, and I am going to help the people, and I myself also spend a little bit time and resources for the protection of the jungles and trees, because they are very useful for us. Thank you very much. Thank you. And this is lesson 3 here. Surely you are joking, Mr. Feynman. Here we have seen the American academic institution, higher institution, where how the teaching learning is there and how people are doing those things we see in this lesson. So before discussing as a background, let's go to the literal comprehension through which we can understand everything, okay? Surely you are joking, Mr. Feynman is an autobiography by anecdote, which reading is like listening to Feynman tells funny stories and tall tales about his life. It is an autobiography of Mr. Feynman. This is the best one can do in the quest for knowledge and understanding objective, a moral investigation of cause and effective relationship. With a gimlet eye casting aspersions on all untested conclusion and inferences, Feynman's brilliance allowed him to get by with little need of it. He was honest to a fault. He blatantly told his host exactly what he felt of their education by rote memorization system after having taught physics to undergraduates in Brazil. Feynman finalizes his undergraduate work at MIT. This is very famous and popular academic institution of the United States, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. When he arrives at Princeton, he notices the difference between MIT and Princeton. Princeton is another important, another popular and famous higher academic institution, the university. And MIT is another institution, higher academic institution. Here, in this essay, the writer Feynman is projecting the comparison and differences between these two very popular and famous academic institutions, famous universities in the United States. Not only in the United States, all over the world. In Princeton, everybody speaks very formally. So Princeton is the hub of formality. People speak very formally. They are like very high-class people, and they communicate with being very careful. Lives in nice room. Princeton, the students speak very formally. They live in very nice decorated rooms and wears academic robes when taking daily meals in the elegant dining hall. They wear academic, ribs. Ribs means it's a kind of gown which is compulsory to everybody in Princeton. So Princeton is the hub and center of formality, where students speaks very formally. Even the other people, the professors, teachers, also they communicate, they behave formally, and they wear the formal dress. They eat their meals in the very decorated dining halls, and they live in very nice rooms. On the day of his arrival, he is invited to a tea. So the first day from MIT to Princeton, the writer Feynman was arrived. When he arrived over there, at that time he was invited to a tea. Feynman has never been to a tea before, so this is the first time he was there, and is not sure how he is supposed to behave. But it is clear to him that he has committed social error. So Feynman has a doubt inside how to behave with the people, how to speak, and how to maintain the formality and dignity of Princeton. So he has doubt about it, because it was the first time, because he had arrived on the same day and he was invited for the tea. And he was confirmed that he will have some sort of problem regarding, the behaviors and relationship with the people. Feynman has never been to a tea before and is not sure how he is supposed to behave, but it is clear to him that he has committed social errors. He wishes to remain there for graduate school, but is advised to do his graduate work at a different institution. He decides to attend Princeton. He is a little nervous about Princeton, since the school has a reputation for formality and elegance, and vows to make an attempt to improve his social graces. So Princeton has that value inside. So he has to do those things being in Princeton. Feynman, less prioritized, engaged in rationalization, the daily mental gymnastics in which most folks engage to make the world as it appears to be somewhat congruent with the world as we wish it to be. Feynman took things at face value, which is the running joke of "surely you are joking." Feynman seemed to live something like Jim Carrey's character in the movie Liar, almost unable to lie even when it would benefit him. Men of less extraordinary talent might, like Cherry's character, find everyday life impossible to negotiate without the occasional rationalization. In this way, we have done the literal comprehension of this text, this lesson. Surely you are joking, Mr. Feynman. Here it seems a little bit technical, but you need to understand that after his graduation, the writer moves from MIT to Princeton, and Princeton has lots of formality, and they wear very formal dress. They eat in the dining hall, elegant dining hall, and they live in the nice rooms, but the environment and scenario there in MIT is different. So through these, text essay, the writer has compared the, behaviors, values of the very popular higher academic institution of the United States. Book, as I have mentioned to you. Surely you are joking, Mr. Feynman. We have done the, literal comprehension of this text. Now let's move to the interpretation. What does it mean, Interpretation. The writer tries to expose his experience in old renowned universities. He discusses the situation and condition of his study life using various anecdotes. You know what anecdote means? Anecdote means amusing stories, short stories, very funny stories, and interesting stories based on some, short, interesting, amusing events. Further, the writer tries to expose that it takes time to the adjustment in new place, in new social structure. The story also suggests that if we work hard and understand the value of time, we will achieve the destination of our life. This is the main message. That way we can interpret this story. Surely you are joking, Mr. Feynman. Here, what we do is, this text encourages us. The main message of this text is if we work hard, if we take care the social values and the principles and norms and core values of the institution, then we can get the adjustments. It is easy to get the adjustment, but it takes time. Sometimes we may make some social errors also, and we become the part of humor or laugh. But whatever the case, this is important, and we can adjust, and we should adjust in the new places, new institutions. One more thing, this text can be interpreted that even in the same country, United States, the very popular and very reputed academic institution, they have different code of conduct. In MIT, there is no difference. There is no that much formality. Students can live on their individual freedom, more freedom. But in Princeton, they have to follow the rules designed by the institution, and there are reasons behind them. Okay. Now let's move to the critical thinking. Here in critical thinking, we raise some questions regarding the text, the elements and aspects where we are not that much convinced. Let me read from my reference book. Okay, there are some evidences which cannot be easily justified here in this text. How a person in different occasions behave and responds in a similar way. Mr. Feynman responses like both cream and lemon in the tea. He observed and studied all the classes of various subjects like philosophy and biology. Is it possible? In this text, the writer says that I even studied philosophy and biology. I even studied architecture and mathematics. Is it possible for a person to study various diversified subjects over there? And how a person can ask for the cream and lemon in the tea, which is almost impossible. So these are the things that we can raise some questions regarding this one. And assimilation. In assimilation, what happened after reading this text to me? I, after reading the text, understand the value of hard working and keep myself always interested to research work and study. I also noticed that people have different styles and thinking if they are from different backgrounds. The important thing is we should not be hopeless and frustrated in new environment and should respect each other way of life and style. So whenever we live life, not only in academic institution, I have realized that whenever I go in the new place, new situation and in new job, I need to respect their values, their systems. And it takes some time, and they also should accept me because I am from the new culture, new society, new background. So it takes few days, few weeks, or let's say sometimes few months to get the adjustment over there in that society. In this way, we have completed the text. Surely you are joking, Mr. Feynman. And, thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you. Well, welcome back to our channel. We are learning this business English here. And in business English, we are doing this, Unit 3, Education. Under Education, we have 4 lessons altogether. First one is why go to university. Second is don't cut down the trees, brother woodcutter. Third one is surely you are joking, Mr. Feynman. And the last or final one that we are going to do right now, a 1996 commencement speech. It's the very beautiful speech given by Salman Rushdie in 1996. So without any delay, I am going to read the 4-level interpretation, literal comprehension, and we'll make little bit explanation also over there. So here, let's go to the literal comprehension, what it says regarding 1996 commencement speech. Literal comprehension. Rushdie advised the graduates to develop themselves in avenging figures like goddess Nemesis. He gives the example of goddess like Prometheus, stole the fire from God and gave it to humankind, which could be characterized as the desire for progress, for improved scientific and technical capabilities. Certainly, defying of gods involves personal interest. For example, Arachne competed with goddess out of pride. Minerva was vindictive. Noeve fought against Latona for cruel rule of gods. They all challenged the role of gods to promote the rule of human. The gods are weakened by their show of strength and power. The message of myths was that we should behave ourselves and know ourselves, and that we must be guided by our nature. Finally, Rushdie advised the graduates not to bow their heads. The graduates. Not to know their place and defy the gods and be guided by better nature. He should not have paid. Neither should he have changed his shoes, and nor he should have knelt to beg for his BA. He at that time preferred to surrender and get the degree. He was plucked out of the parade and ordered to change his shoes because brown shoes were not allowed to wear on such occasion. It was just a few nights before his graduation day when someone redecorated his room with a bouquet of sauce all over the walls and furniture. In the story, when he thinks his past days, he regrets his passivity. He was even wrong to make an accommodation with injustice. He was wrong to compromise. Here, in this essay, 1996 commencement speech, Rushdie, describes a beautiful story, real story of his life when he was going to be graduated from the university. And before the graduation date, one day before, somebody, threw some garbage like onion sauce and some, dust to his walls and furniture. And university administration accused Rushdie regarding this tax, even though he was innocent. He knelt down and he bowed his head and he compromised with injustice. Even though he did not make any crime, he did not engage himself in such sort of activities, but he bowed down his head and he compromised with injustice and he knelt down and request for the degree and graduation, because he thought about his family and his profession and his career, so that he could not fight against the injustice. He could not maintain the courage through which he can fight for the justice and so on. So this is all about literal comprehension. Now let's move to the interpretation. The essay suggests us not to surrender in front of the power or authority. Freedom is required as the prior phenomena. If we kneel ourselves with others' powers, nothing creative can be done. Human development, creativity and critical thinking, etc. are possible when people are open to think and create something important. In the field of education, what one should get freedom. The writer tries to say that in the field of education, we should have courage to speak for the truth. We should not compromise for the injustice. First, we need to have freedom. Then only we can create something creative. The creativity can be developed in freedom. And every person has the right to fight against injustice. We should not compromise. We should not be, selfish, or we should not be repressed by the power and authority. It is not necessary to bow down our head in front of the power and, authority if we are not making any mistakes over there. So that's the very important things the poet has, the writer has mentioned in his speech. This is very powerful speech. And let's see some, points for the critical thinking. In a sense, He did right by following all the university principles is the price of making himself eligible to be conferred with the degree. Otherwise, no value system of higher education could be sustained unless the individual resigns himself to the established principle handed down as the legacy from the long past in a way of giving credit to those who paved the course for the developments of educated culture. There are few contradictions in between what young Salman thought about preservation of his liberty and the manner he compromised with the disgusting Cambridge principles while obtaining the degree with his body down at the knees below the Vice-Chancellor, who seemed very likely to drop direct over him from the high-placed chair. Salman details largely about pros and cons of Cambridge University from where he graduated, but ignores almost to highlight the academic greatness of the Southampton University. He simply shows his indebtedness to the university for honoring him with an opportunity to give 96th commencement speech and extend gratitude to the president of the board who offered him position of teaching in the Department of English even during the crucial moments of his life. So here, what we need to understand is in critical thinking, how is it possible to abuse or to accuse somebody who is innocent? Can't a person, show some proofs, and can't he or she prove in that situation? Is it possible in the that much democratic and liberal countries where individuals can enjoy their freedoms and creativity? So even though according to Salman it is the real story of his life, but how we can believe that one? So these are some questions that we can raise in critical thinking. How is it possible in the institution Cambridge University, which is popular all over the world and where the students are suppressed and they have to compromise with the injustice and they cannot promote their creativity? This is very problematic, and we can raise those things. And let's go to the assimilation. What I have come to understand that we should not surrender ourselves to injustice. All the old traditions and trends should be replaced by the new and progressive ones. We should fight for freedom, which is only one means for our success and progress. Here, this is very important things. Wherever we are, whatever we are going to achieve, we should fight for the justice. We should fight for the, freedom and equality and creativity, because this is the main motive of higher education. If we compromise with injustice, then what is the value of getting a higher degree? What is the value of certification? This is not valuable. If you fight against injustice, if you fight against, criminal activities, if you fight against look at Why Go to University, written by Moti Nishani. Don't cut down the trees, brother woodcutter, Balkrishna Sharma. And surely you are joking, Mr. Feynman and Leighton. 1996 commencement speech by Salman Rushdie. So in this way, we have completed Unit 3. And this unit mainly, gives us the knowledge. All these, poems, essays, and stories, they are describing the education systems. Not only the formal education, not only university education, informal education and practical education, that is very important. In the first lesson, Why Go to University? It talks about the benefits of having the higher degrees and university degrees. And in lesson 2, don't cut down the trees, brother woodcutter. In this, we have received the practical education. Why it is important to protect the trees? Why it is important to protect our informal education? And the third one is, surely you are joking, Mr. Feynman. How is the environment? How two academic institutions, even within the country, can have many differences. Both of them are very popular, very famous, not only in United States, MIT and Princeton, all over the world. But they have their own code of conduct, they have their own values, systems, and they have their own destination. So that comparison we see in Salman, this penman's essay, autobiographical essay. Surely you are joking, Mr. Penman. And the last one is 1996 commencement speech. It is the speech given by Salman Rushdie where he regrets, he expresses his regrets, and he laments about the situation where before the day of graduation he compromised with injustice. He bowed down his head in front of the power and authority. He compromised with injustice. So here in this speech, he really empowers the students, encourages the students to fight against injustice, to fight against conspiracy, to fight against the criminal activities in the society. This is the main motive of education. If we compromise with injustice, immorality, conspiracy, if we compromise with many negative things, then what is the value of education? So fight against that. What Salman Rushdie says in 1996 speech is, I compromise because at that time I did not understand. Now I have understood. Whenever you fight with the authority and power, when they try to suppress you, even in positive things, or let's say you are innocent, but they are they are blaming you as the criminal. At that time you have to fight. In the beginning, when you fight, you might think that there will be many demerits or you will have negative consequences in your life. But later on, the whole atmosphere, whole society and community will support you. In case of Salman Rushdie also, at that time, if he raised his voice, he would get support from all the other students and professors. He had to go through the struggle, but at last he would win the game. He would have justified the truth and justice. That did not happen in his life, and he feels regret and encourages the new graduates to fight against the injustice and negative things. This is the main motive of education. In this way, we have finished Unit 3. And in the next video, I will come to the Unit 5, Unit 4. And in Unit 4, the title is Actions and Consequences. So the lesson is the parrot in the cage, a sound of thunder, no smoke from the chimneys. So there are 3 lessons in Unit 4. That Unit 4, I will come to the next video, coming video. Please, if you think these videos are useful for you, you can subscribe our channel and press the bell icons. Why don't you put some comments also and give us the like if you like the videos, so that we will be encouraged for the upcoming videos.